Hello and welcome to number 109. 109. I don't know why that's a special number. I
Why can't it be a special number?
It is 109 of the rest of our lives. No, welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast. We are excited to be here with you guys. And after 109 reps, I feel like we found our rhythm.
I mean, I would hope so after 109 reps.
Did you know? So I felt like you were saying, like yesterday we taught a class together. Mm-hmm. It was our first small intensive that just Ani and I have taught together. Mm-hmm. And I literally think the podcast has helped so much with our rhythm.
Oh yeah. And look, our banter's on point. I'm just going to say that as well. But really, I think you and we flow so well that it was super easy.
Yeah. But I feel like, honestly, just having reps behind the podcast, we've been together a lot, but I just feel like we kind of know each other. We know when to toggle back and forth. We know those awkward silences. I
always know when you're about to stop talking.
I give you this look I don't know where this is going. And then you jump in and take over. So it works out well. But I really wanted to usually for the premise of the show, for those of you who have never tuned in, we are hairstylists. I own a company called Natural Beaded Rose and DKW Styling Academy, and Isla Hand-Tied Hair by Natural Beaded Rose, as well as DKW Styling Salon. I kind of have 4 brands.
Look at you. Woo! You're like those people from Game of Thrones. You're so-and-so from this place and that other where the title's so long.
I'm Sir Game of, I don't know.
Sir Game of Thrones? I know what you're about to say.
But anyways, we are hairdressers, and what's different about Natural Beaded Rose is in the beginning, when I sort of launched my brand and started teaching, and everybody was self-proclaimed educators, and it was just let me show you how to do this. And then it kind of got to this place where it was no longer I'm just going to teach you for free. And a lot of artists that were really good started charging and holding small classes and things like that. And I was one of them probably 9 years ago. Yeah. And as I started teaching Natural Beaded Rose, students were not having the success that I wanted them to have. And now hand-tied hair extensions are trending like crazy. And I don't want to say I started it, but I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back and say I started it, because when I started my brand, nobody was doing hand-tied extensions. Nobody was. It was tape-ins were the rave, and it's any kind of glue-in ones, which I hate, are the rave. Anything but beaded rose were thought of as cheap, and nobody liked them. And anyway, but in the beginning when I was teaching, it was the students were not having the success that I wanted them to have. And I don't think that I gave myself enough story for my backstory of why I made it hand-tied cool, why I made it successful, and why it's the top trending hair extension, honestly, in our industry right now.
It's massive.
It's so massive. It got to the point too where brands were oh, I do hand-tied extensions, and everybody was claiming they did the same thing. I'm no. Every brand a specific way of doing it. So hand-tied extensions, if you don't know, is a very general term. That's like saying tape-in or a single bond.
Yeah, but there's still methods that they put them in.
Right.
So, and I feel like it's so hard because a hand-tied extension is the hair we use. Right. But the method put in is NBR. So multiple brands can use a hand-tied weft for hair, but the way that it's put in is completely different. Well, I feel like tape-ins, not to be a dick, but tape-ins are just tape-ins.
There's different brands of quality of hair.
Yeah.
But there's not a...
But they're all put in the same way.
Yes, tape-in is all put in the same way. That's true, but there's different quality hair. And even with hand-tied hair, there's different quality of hair. So I've pushed my brand so hard to create a distinction, because I'm sorry, we have super amazing quality hair. We have really awesome hair. And just the system we do, I pour a lot of time into my education. And so I'm how dare you say that I'm just it's a hand-tied system. And so I really wanted to differentiate each method inside of our industry.
One of the girls in our class, and I won't say what brand she went to because I'll be honest, I'd never even heard of it.
I'd never heard of it either.
I never heard of it. But she was just in our class yesterday, the past 2 days, and was saying she's I'm really upset. Literally came up to me and Danielle at the end of day one, bawling. And she's I'm just so upset. I took this class, ABC, whatever it was called. And she's and it was terrible. She's there was no education. They didn't really help. It was a 1-day class. And she's I was so confused. She's and I'm just upset I spent money doing that.
What did she spend? It was only
It was $850.
Yeah. Whereas my classes are $3,500. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but you get what you pay for. And even in the beginning, like I think I charged $1,000 when I was first educating.
Your online course was like $700.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I mean, but still, I felt like I still tried to like pour my heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
But it's all about like you want the students to be able to take the tool and apply it to what they're doing. If they can't, they're gonna like be like, they're gonna talk shit. They're gonna say, I wish I didn't pay for that class. Why did I do that? Like you have to be able to give them a tool that they're actually going to use and have abundance with.
Well, and I think that was kind of not like the problem that you face in the beginning as well, but you know, your course wasn't like the most expensive. It was high, definitely. But also there was a lot of support behind it and guidance and training as opposed to like a one-day class with 30 people and like peace, bye.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't work.
Right. Well, and I would hate to put my brand, and I didn't really understand this till like I got further in my brand, but like I don't want somebody to be doing it incorrectly and saying like #NBR and they're doing it incorrectly. And that's my fault because I didn't take the time to make sure that they're knotting their stitch correctly or like turning their hand correctly. Because even when you and I walk around and we're looking at everybody's work, I remember I used to just be like, great job, great job, great job. And I wouldn't really like sit and assess and be like, and now I'm like, my name's on the fucking line here. And so I literally am like, let me see your wrist. Okay, you're knotting that the wrong way. See how you're doing this? Okay, you need to do that. Because it's the little tweaks that help them figure out how to do it. And I think in the beginning, I just was like, good job. Congratulations. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, you got a fucking long road. But now I'm trying to correct that because, again, I want them to have results with the tool of NBR.
Well, and I feel like that's why I almost not like got like the title as like the mean one, but I'm definitely have always been like the really super strict coach.
Right.
Because I've always been like, it doesn't work for you. And I tell everybody like, I get it, but I had to do this by myself for an entire year before I got any help. So sorry about you, but that doesn't look good. And I'm not going to like, not to say let them get away with it, but that's not good enough. Good enough isn't good enough.
Right.
So that always is just a total place of frustration for me. And funny enough, though, I turned 30 yesterday and I've been getting tons of messages from the students. And one girl messaged me and she's like, I just want you to know that I don't have a photo of us from convention or anything like that, but you know, you've done so much, da-da-da. She goes, and I used to think you were so scary until I realized everything you do is surrounded by love and you're just amazing. And I'm like, oh, I knew I fucking scared people. Jesus.
No, you're just very good at like being like, no, like you have a standard. And like even like teaching, I'll be like, wait, let me ask Ani. I might get in trouble for like, because I get so excited when we're teaching and I'm like, oh my God. And then, and like,
I'm like,
you're like,
nope.
slow it down. And it was funny. The students would look at me and they would laugh and they'd be like, you need her. I'm like, I know, I do. You guys would be done in this class within like 5 minutes. I'd be like, you got it? You good? You ready?
It was so funny though, because like NBs tend to be the hardest thing inside of NBR. And I make sure there's like a solid 2.5 hours just for NBs. And Danielle was like, let me show them an NB. I'm like, they're stitching. You're like, yeah, but it's so good. I'm like, good. It'll still be good after lunch.
Well, there's like teaching somebody, but then there's also like slowing it down and making sure that they retain the information.
Yes.
Just because you understand it, it's something that I've personally been doing hair for, I don't even know, like 18 years. And so like for me, of course my mind understands it, but like when you're teaching, you got to like really slow it down to make sure they're comprehending what you're teaching.
Well, even things like backstitching. Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
Oh man.
Backstitching, people either find it really, really easy or really, really hard, like just depending on their background.
My brain's like, no, only go forward, don't go back.
And I'm like, Danielle, wrong, no. But let's really talk about, so, you know, we have the Academy this year, guys. Sorry, I have a bobby pin like dangling
like, what are you doing?
There's a crazy bobby pin. Look, I look bald in the camera. I'm not. My hair's braided. It's in a bun.
I'm in a hat and braids, and Ani, this is Friday hair, okay, guys?
Look, this is we go to Vegas tomorrow, and I'll shampoo tonight.
I'm going to wash tonight, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not doing that shit twice. Actually, dude, I have to check a bag now because I have to wash my hair and I need to take my blow dryer. That's a total.
You don't want to use one of the minis in the hotel that's like, meh.
Do you realize with my 22-inch hair, that will take me 3 days
You're like,
to blow dry?
I blow dried one bang. Awesome. Why do they even put those in hotels?
They're like hot garbage.
They're so garbage. I'm like, really? A $7 blow dryer that like folds in half? Like, do yourself a favor and don't put that in a hotel room anymore.
Oh, wait. I have a travel size one. Maybe I'll take that.
I actually have a travel size one too.
Mine's from Paul Mitchell though. It's like a legit one.
But you know what? The Dyson dryers are so small. I love it. They're almost like a travel size.
Well, I don't think I can take stuff from the salon, so.
Oh, you don't have a Dyson at home?
No! I know!
You should get a raise from your boss and buy yourself one.
If you guys could email Danielle at... No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to give out your fucking email.
You have a Dyson at home?
No!
What do you use?
Like a whole bunch of one.
You're a traitor. You can't work for me anymore. You can't.
Can you talk to my boss and get me a raise?
Oh my God. You can't sit with us anymore.
This is me crossing out. They're going to listen and be like, are they being serious?
Dead serious. We'll joke around though. Like literally when my team members fuck it up, I'm like really sweet, but I'm like so dead serious. And I'm like, hi, you're fired. And they're like, I think she might be serious. I'm like, I kind of am. If you fuck up again, we're going to have...
God, and that's, I feel, not where we differ, but you really do have to have that kind of bluntness. Like, even the other day, look, like, we had a huge talk with the staff at DKW that we have the academy out, and they just haven't been stepping up like we really wanted them to. And it wasn't all team members, but enough to where I was just I was mad. I was so angry.
Well, I think it's hard, like, when... you work with somebody, like even with Garrett, like I forget how good he is at what he does because I'm married to him and I live with him. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to, like even with my own staff, I'm like, you guys, we have this academy that people are like applying and dying to get in right now. And we only had like so many spots available this year. I'm like, and I can't even get my fucking staff to turn in their projects because I make them, there's
homework, there's assessments.
There's assessments. I mean, we hold a pretty high standard because yes, I own a salon, but I'm really known as an education company. And I'm like, my staff must participate inside of my education company because number one, I want you guys to be the best. And number two, I want you guys to be educators on my team.
Yes. So it was, I sent them all a voice audio and it was not the nicest one I've ever sent. And when I do that, I hold it really close and I get super close. So it always sounds like I'm yelling even if I'm not. But I told them, like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, you want to be out on the floor, but you have to be willing to put in the work. Just because you made it into DKW doesn't mean you're automatically the best of the best. Guess what? You made it in, which was hard enough. But even from there, now there's even more work because the standard is so high. Right. Let me tell you.
There's no easy pass ever.
Well, a couple of the girls were triggered. They told Crystal, they were like, I just don't like how Ani spoke to me. Yeah, well, I wouldn't have to fucking speak to you like that if you would do your work.
Well, I think that if you are triggered, then there's a teeny bit of truth in it that you're like, fuck, and you have to kind of like bite your ego and be like, okay. And I was talking to even Garrett about that this morning. I'm like, there's this ego inside of the artist. And for myself, like, there's this place where you have to submit a little bit where you have the most success. And for me, it's easier to submit in certain areas because I know I win. Like, yes, you might take a step back to take 6 steps forward.
And see, I don't even view it as like taking a step back.
You don't
to me,
now
it's
because
like,
you understand it. But in the beginning, you're like, I've been doing hair for a while. I don't want to go back and be an assistant, or I should just be put on the floor. But it doesn't work that way. And I feel like when you're a student inside of like the academy or in our mastermind, what we had last year, they're hungrier and they're working harder. And so I'm like, you guys, I get it. I'm a commissioned salon, but you're still going to have to be hungry. You're still going to have to work as hard as my students. Otherwise, my students are going to stick out more.
And at that point, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds so shitty to say, but it's true. Even one of the girls inside of our class, and we're really just talking about this, guy, so you understand that there's a mentality to everything that happens. Like, just because you're like, I'm going to do it, that's not really enough. You actually have to do it, but then be okay with being bad and pay attention. Please, for the love of God, pay attention to fucking details. I cannot express that enough. One of the girls in our class, she was going through and doing, it had to be her bead. Well, she fucked up both pretty bad, beadwork and stitching. And I'm like, you're doing something weird because your bead shouldn't be sitting like that. So when she went to do it, like, you have to hold the string up and wiggle the bead down. She pulled the string all the way down to push the bead up into the section. And I look at her, I go, freeze. I'm like, why are you doing that? That was really my question. She goes, because that's what we're supposed to do. I'm like, no, you're doing the opposite. And I showed her what she had to do. And she goes, oh my God. She's like, Ani, I've been doing hair for, I think she said 17 years. She goes, but this is how like other methods are. I'm like, we're not other methods. And that blew her fucking mind. Even when it came to stitching, she's like, I've just been doing hair for so long and I'm not used to this and I'm always like good at everything. And I go, well, with all due respect, you're not great at this, but you can become great. You just have to practice.
We always say, try to be a little bit less shitty every single day. Yeah. And it is crazy. I love seeing the light bulbs go off inside of like,
you can literally see
they're like, oh, like the cute girl with the curly hair. She like,
in the front, Alexis.
I loved her. Like, literally, there were so many moments in the day where she was just like fucking mind blown.
Like, literally, she would just go like,
and you could tell she's been doing hair for a bit, and she was just like, she's
in a 45-person salon.
Shut up.
45, Danielle. We have like 10, and I think it's a lot.
In the factory machine?
45. She said that, and I was like, I'm
Where
sorry.
Where is she from?
I don't remember, but I was like, did you say 45? She's like, yeah, 45. I'm like, sweet baby
I worked
Jesus.
in one salon. It was actually in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it easily had about 40 stylists. It had an upstairs and a downstairs. I mean, it was beautiful, but it closed down after like 2 years. It was
Because that's too much.
so much. It was beautiful. I loved working there. I just rented a chair and did my thing, but
no, it's too. Even Carl's salon. It's a 25-chair salon. I'm like, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen.
I'm a little jealous of his shampoo room. I'm not gonna lie.
His shampoo room's dope.
It's got like spa
Did you see his
music.
bake room though?
Yeah.
His break room is the scariest.
No, I didn't see his break room.
The most terrifyingly awful thing I've seen.
So Carlos, one of our trainers, has this beautiful salon, and his break room is like, I guess, scary.
It's a closet where he turned the AC off, and he refuses to have it clean so that it's so gross that people don't want to be in there and talk shit.
So they don't want to sit down and, break rooms, we always
There's
say
no
that.
sitting,
Break
there's
rooms,
no gossip. It's just
he's like, that's where dark, what did he say? He's like, that's where dark secrets live or something.
So I went around his salon, I did a live, I'm like, look at the chandeliers, look at this like $1,000 espresso machine, look at this. Look at the break room. Ah! And he was like, why would you show people that?
The dark side of Carlos.
Because you know what we haven't talked about? Danielle.
What are we talking about? There was
we haven't talked about ClickFunnels.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my guys. Look, I'm going to start off with this. I realize hairstylists are known as being too stupid inside of business, too dumb to have gone to college, poor as fuck, and like ditzy and stupid. I'm going to take this for half a second.
Okay.
I'm so fucking excited. This past week, I was in Nashville, Tennessee with 5,000 people in humans just in general from massive companies that they've sold for billions of dollars. They're making hundreds of millions and tens of millions and just millions of phenomenal to be in this room of all sorts of different people. And it was really cool.
It's all entrepreneurs, pretty much.
All of them were entrepreneurs from everything from photography to real estate to tax, everything. Mm-hmm. Everybody was there. And Natural Beaded Rose / DKW received an award.
We should have received 2, really.
I know. Well, let me know when they mail it to you, by the way.
It's a really big ass frame.
It's so big. But it was such a cool moment. I was able to go on stage and accept it for Natural Beaded Rose and actually Wake Up Warrior as well. But to be there in front of 5,000 people was insane. And they would come to me after and be like, oh my gosh, what do you do? And I just go, hair.
And then you were known as like the hair girl at the event. They're like,
literally.
You're the hair girl? Wait, you got that award? Your hair?
Yep. Yes, because Danielle got the award for the companies. It's called the 2 Comma Club. Basically, you've reached you've hit 1 million at least. Mm-hmm. And that's not in hairstyles. Like I said, we're known for being poor and stupid. And so that was such a cool moment because really for the next entire day and a half, people were like, so what do you do? I'm like, hair. And they're like, oh my God, what do you do? Even people would come up and be like, you work with NBR. I'm like, yes, I am NBR.
But that's what's so cool. I'm so excited for NBR and the Academy to have like a different name inside of the hair world. You're like, oh, you went to DKW Styling Academy? You bet your fucking ass I went to DKW Styling Academy. It's just a whole nother level of doing hair.
Well, there are even people that we met that are working, or the people that I met that are working overseas with hairstylists, and they keep contacting me out on Instagram and everything, being like, hey, let us know when you want to work. Like, do you want to work together? Do you guys want to partner up? I know people, And it's becoming such a big thing. And I'll be honest, I think this was day 1. I was so fucking triggered because this woman went on stage and she's like, ta-ta, I'm awesome. Great. And she's like, I did this and I did that. And then I went to cosmetology school and then I graduated and I started doing hair. But I wanted to be more than just a hairstylist. I'm more than someone who just does hair. And I was like, hold up, what?
I have to, keep going.
It triggered the fuck out of me.
When you told me about it, I was triggered. But then I had to go back to, I know I've told you this before, but I actually went into hair. I went to college for 1 semester. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, I don't know where ceramics is not going to get me anywhere. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to hair school because at least I can learn a trade where if I decide to go back to college or maybe I become a mom or whatever, at least I have that skill. And I'm from Utah. I was raised Mormon, LDS, and we get married young. We have babies young. We just that's what we do. Mm-hmm. So I was like, ooh, if I do go to hair school, it's 1.5 years. Most people, it takes a year. It took me 1.5 years because I took a break. But but I literally went into hair as kind of my backup plan.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because I think that oftentimes we forget to look at the skills right in front of us as being an actual tool to create abundance in our life. And I think that the business aspect is not taught to hairstylists. It's just the skill. And so for me, and that's how I started my brand, is like, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people know my backstory of like, I didn't know I was going to stay married. We were broke. We were pretty much broke, emotionally disconnected, whatever. And that's when I had to look, okay, well, how can I make money right now? I had 2 children at the time. How can I make money right now? And I was a hairstylist. So even though when I hear like somebody say like, oh, I want to be more than a hairstylist, I think even in the beginning when I got into hair, I was just like, oh, it's just it's a hobby. But then the minute I had to make money, it wasn't just hair. I had to create a business. And I actually wrote a really cool post yesterday. I don't know if you read it, but I said, in the beginning, I looked at it as just a hairstylist, but now I realize I'm a businesswoman who happens to be really good at hair. So I think if you shift your mindset as a hairstylist as like, I'm not just a hairstylist, or you get triggered by saying, I'm just a hairstylist, maybe consider you're a businesswoman and your skill set is doing hair.
But it triggered the fuck out of me.
No, I get it.
I sat there for probably 30 more seconds and I was like, I'm 0% interested in anything else you have to say. I left. I was like, well, I'm going to go get Cinnabon because I'm not going to sit here anymore.
I think though too, like because hairdressers are looked at that, I think that's why you and I are so passionate about like flipping that role. And yeah, there may always be that stigma of like, I'm just a hairdresser. But if I feel like being inside of this brand, people will look at it differently. Like, oh, okay, you do natural beauty rose. And they're definitely more like a little bit more respect.
Well, and especially because the results that our artists have, one of our trainers, I was just talking to her, we had the trainer call, and she was like, guys, I had like my biggest month. And I'm like, that's so great. What was it? And she's like, well, myself and one other girl total made $115,000 in a month. She's like, I mean, mine was $85,000, but I'm so happy for her too. And I'm like, what in the what? Yeah. And hearing things like that is really amazing. So, but I think it's the stigma of being like just a hairstylist is there because we allow it, but that's also how we treat ourselves.
Yes.
And that's why even like when we offer the academy to any of our students, like sometimes there's that big hesitation of like, I don't know. Like even one girl yesterday, she's like, look, I'm going to do it, but I'm not even telling my fucking husband about it because she's like, they don't understand.
Right. But when they start getting results, then they'll be like, hey, this is working. And then maybe she'll feel more comfortable.
Hey, I mean, she signed up, so it's fine. But I think you have to almost take that leap of faith some days and just be like, you know what? This might not be what the industry has done before, but there's already proof that it works. But I feel like every great invention or things that we use now came from literally not ever existing. Like 15, 20 years ago, having this in your pocket, I'm holding up my iPhone, like this was insane.
Right.
It used to be like, you need to learn how to do math because you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. Right. I have a calculator. I have Google. I can control the lights in my house. Like I can do everything from my phone. And that came birth from, I don't know from where, but from taking a bunch of things, really putting them together. But you have to go outside of the norm, but also be willing to leap into the unknown and know like you're not going to let yourself drown.
I think too, we get so stuck in our habits and routines. And I even remember like Garrett had always pushed me. I remember he'd be like, well, we're going to do this with marketing or we're going to do this with your business. And I'd say hairdressers, they don't do that. And he's like, do you want to fucking be a hairdresser? And I was like, well yeah, and I had to really be like, okay, well, let's open up possibilities. There's what's been done in our industry, and then you have to ask yourself, is this causing me stress? Is this what I want? And if it is, why are we doing that way? And you have to literally take all the patterns that hairdressers have put themselves in this box of like, I must work Saturdays, I must work evenings, I must work holidays, I must charge this, I must do this.
And said who?
Like, said who? Who? Like even,
who made that rule?
We made those rules, and all of a sudden we're taught them, and we think that we have to abide by them. But as a business owner, and if you say, I'm not a hairstylist, I'm a businesswoman, guess what? You can write the rules to your business.
Maybe that's, I feel like, why I succeeded so well, because I hate rules. Like, I love reading, but the more someone is like, Garrett one time was like, you have to read this book. I'm like, it took me like, I think a year to read it because I was like, stop telling me to read it. The more you tell me to do something, the less I want to do it. I'm so fucking stubborn. So maybe that's the reason why I love this so much. I'm like, good, break every single rule that was ever written. Fuck rules.
I would say I'm sort of like that. I'll look at something and I almost like overanalyze it. I'm like, but why are we doing that? Like, I have to understand what is the point we're doing. Like,
your natural MO as a human might be like mine. It's called a questioner.
Yeah, I have to like, sometimes it bites me in the ass, like, because Garrett will say something and I'll say, but why? And he'll be like, why can't you just be supportive? And I'm like, my mind automatically flips it and takes the other side. So if he's like trying to vent and be like, this person was an asshole and this and this and this, I'm like, but were you an asshole? Like, and he gets so mad. He not as much anymore. He'll be like, that's why I love you. Because I flip it. I literally am like, I want to be on your side, but I'm immediately trying to figure out why that happened. Do you know
It's
what
like
I mean?
my ex would ask me something. He'd be like, well, what do you think about da-da-da-da? And I'd be like, what do you think about that? Or he'll be like, was I being an asshole? I'm like, do you feel like you were being an asshole?
Then they're all confused. Or, I don't know.
It literally became a rule of going, don't answer my question with a question, just answer the question. I was like,
I hate when somebody answers with a question. It's the
I
worst.
do that all the time. But you know what? I took a test. My natural MO as a human is to question everything.
See, Garrett says I critique everything. He's like, you don't question it. You immediately take the opposite side and critique me for my idea. And I was like, but do I?
You're like, are you sure? Do you know what he's actually told me about that about you?
What?
He has said, because I've heard this, his version of this story before, and he's like, I'll go home. I don't even know why I know this, but I'll go home and I'll be like fucking amped. I'll be like, Danielle, this is what I'm doing. La, la, la. Like typical Garrett fashion, that's exactly what he sounds like. And he'll be like, this is what I'm doing. He's like, and then I'll tell her, and she'll be like, that's not gonna work. And he'll be like, yes, it is. And she'll be like, no.
My brain always wants to problem solve. I'll be like, that sounds fun in theory. And he'll be like, and he gets all irritated.
But no, it's a really good story. I swear it ends well. It's not like you're the bad guy here. But he'll literally be like, Danielle will be like, that's not going to work because what about this? Or what about that? Or what about da? He goes, and then he goes, at first I fucking hated it. And I'd be like, just let me do my thing, woman. Like how Garrett is. He goes, but then it really put me in a place to be like, you know what? You have to be 1,000% certain of something.
Of what you're doing,
like 1,000%. He goes, especially I know if I'm going to take it to Danielle. He goes, if there's a hole, she's going to find the hole and she's going to poke a hole in it and make it bigger. He goes, so you have to be certain in what you're doing, what you're offering, what you're saying before you take it to Danielle. And even if she does find a hole, you have to be so confident in it.
I gotta back that up. Yeah.
So he even said, he's like, it's been really good that she does that because it's made me like, if I'm kind of on the fence of something.
You'll do that too though with me. Because I'll be like, have a solid plan, and you'll be like, I hear you, but. And then I'm like, fuck. And then you'll say it, and I'm like, I didn't see that. Okay. Or same thing. I'll be like, no, this is what we're doing. This is going to work. Like, even when we were planning out the academy, I felt like you were always like devil advocate, like coming at me. And I finally was like, I had to get so certain in my plan. I was like, this is what we're doing. And then finally,
I was like,
okay. And I was like, okay.
Literally. And I know because you'd be like, no, let's not do this. And I'm like, okay, but here could be the bad side of this and the good side of that. I feel like I am like the devil's advocate all the time. I'm like, here's what could be bad from this. Here's what could be good from this. But the minute you were like, you know what, Ani? No. This is what we're doing. It's going to fucking work. I'm like, great, then I'm all on board.
And I figured if it didn't work, I would course correct and learn along the way.
Guess what? That one was on you because you said it was going to work.
Well, you know, this year's been going really smooth, though.
Like, fucking solid.
We had to do one schedule shift with some classes and things like that. But, like, I'm so proud of the direction that things are going. And even, I know I keep bringing up Garrett for some reason on this show, but he even, like, this morning looked at me and he's, like, smiling and he's kind of like, damn it, your numbers are catching. I'm like, yeah, they are.
Yes, they
and he's like,
are.
And he's kind of, like, jealous the fact that we have classes going on, like, all over nationwide. He's like, I tried to do that with my trainers. It didn't work. I'm like, no, it didn't. And he's like, and then he'll like talk about my hairline and he's like, oh, you're just smashing it. I'm like,
you're like, oh, am I?
Just having a moment.
And you know what's so funny? Like, I know that's a thing between you and Garrett, but I almost feel like, because you and I are like borderline wives at work, I'm like, we are crushing you, aren't we? I've turned it into like a we had this meeting. It was me, Danielle, Garrett, the CFO, and the CMO. And Garrett looked at Danielle and he's like, I know what you want to do is catch up to me and you're never going to fucking do it. Her and I look at each other and we're like,
game on.
Game on, motherfucker. And ever since, like, but we are. It's like a
healthy,
been great.
It's been a healthy competition now. Like,
oh, yeah. It's not, no one's actually beating each other down.
No, like, it's been good. I think Garrett actually, the last year, he was involved in the company and now he's not. And it's like, it's been like fun because I've kind of like gotten back in the mix and I really enjoy teaching. Like, yesterday, teaching with you made me understand, like, I think I was so set on the role that I needed to play in my business. Like, I was doing, and I think a lot of us hairdressers get like that. We get so proud of the art, you know, and we just literally, I mean, I want to say it's the client connection. That's cool too, but we're just really proud of like how, like the art, you know what I mean? And so sometimes it's hard to step away from the chair. And I don't know why that one year I wasn't involved in classes. I think it was because Garrett I was like, you're in charge, you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this year I'm like, my time is more valuable educating with the students. And I realized too, like, I get such a high with students. Like, I love the energy of being there. And all of them, it was just like minds blown, light bulbs, like excitement, overwhelmedness, like everything. And I think in my business, I think it's important to look at your business no matter where you're at and say, where is my time most valuable? And I had to I'm not taking on any clients right now, but I'm still doing hair and I'm still teaching, which is ultimately what I love doing. And I feel like that's the role that I need to be inside of my business right now.
And even I still do hair one day a week and it's amazing, but you're right. There's nothing like training and teaching.
Yeah.
And that's always where like my heart and soul is with all of the students and now the trainers, which is always like an even higher level. And all 7 of the trainers come out in the beginning of March, like all of them. So it's going to be such a cool moment. But what did you just say that I loved it? You said I got so stuck in my head in the role that I thought I was supposed to be in.
Right.
And a lot of people do that. Even business owners do it. And I see it when they're like, but I can't step back. I can't do this because
I can't let go.
You have to. I've had to let go.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, everybody, like at some point in your business, like you have to let go. I even remember when I opened my salon and I was my own salon manager and I couldn't even take a vacation without stressing because I was the owner, the CEO, the creator, the educator. I had too many roles and too many hats. Like I couldn't even take a vacation. I was like, I can't leave for a weekend and not be stressed. And I remember the minute I even hired like my first manager and I went on a trip, I was like, this is so nice. My business is operating and I can check out if I want to.
Yeah.
And so I think if you want that kind of freedom, you ultimately have to let go and figure out where is your time most valuable. And I think that artists get so stuck behind the chair. That's why they suck at their marketing. They get stuck in this 9-to-5 game and they don't realize
9 to 5. That's cute. 9 to 9.
9 to 9. No, I'm not kidding you. Like, people in the beginning would say, well, how do you do your marketing? I'm like, I used to work 5 days a week, like 9 to 9, same thing. And I was like, fuck this. I doubled my prices overnight. I quit working Saturdays. I'm like, I am in burnout phase. I hate doing hair, but yet I knew I loved it. I'm like, I can't do this. So I literally had to recreate my own story. And I ended up cutting my books down to 3 days, working on my marketing 2 of those days. So I was still working 5 days, but living way more balance. And I didn't just double my income. I started tripling my income and quadrupling my income by letting go of being behind the chair so much. And I think in our industry, that's what's so hard. And even looking at our students, they're like, but I can't. I'm like, but you don't have a fucking choice. You're drowning right now. You're gonna continue to drown, and you know that. And we get so stuck in our heads that we're not willing to leap, to just go. And it's just, you have to just trust what's in your heart, even if you have 2 cents to your name. Like, I love the story how you're like, my rent was $4,000, or no, I
was making $4,000 a month, and just to be able to work and rent my space was over $1,000.
And then to buy like your first NBR class, didn't you have to like max out your cards and like?
Yeah, well, when I first was going to learn NBR, I couldn't even pay the $800 for the online course, so my client did, and then I did her hair for free. And then to go to my first BMS class, I had to call my credit card company. Still have the same company, they're really nice, but I had to call the company, have them up my limit to $2,000 so I could 100% max out the card because I didn't even have $2,000. Right.
But I think that you probably like in your heart, like you were like, I'm going to do this. Like,
I was sitting in your old salon, the old space, when Garrett came in and he was like, we're doing this thing and it's going to be marketing and it's going to be funnels and da-da-da, and I'm going to teach you how to make more money. And I was like, this fucking dude is nuts. I love it. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. And I remember talking to the old employee who did my interview. Oh, wow. And I was so nervous, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to get in. This is so nerve-wracking. Like, it was terrifying. And then I got the link that was like, you've been accepted, pay. And I'm like, I'm maxing out a card. This is the worst idea. It's the best idea. I'm going to throw up. I'm so excited. Ugh, I think I peed a little. Nope, just vomit. It's fine. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. And then I paid
when you're there, you don't have any other choice but to succeed.
That's where I put myself in.
You have to have enough certainty where you're like, I'm going to invest in myself because I know that I will turn this around. I know that it's like, even I remember in the beginning when I was doing extensions and I barely had enough money to buy the hair to put in the client's head.
Same.
And I was like, oh my God, like I can't even invest in this hair. And I was like, I have to do it. I know that if I buy a lot of hair, I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to get on social media. I'm going to be like the number one promoter because I'm hungry. And I think now too, it's like, it's hard when you get like just comfortable and you're like, I want to be hungry again. And so part of me is always like, okay, let's invest into my business so that I'm like always looking to be like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next level? So I think for all of you artists that are listening to this, like if you feel in your heart that you need to like take that leap or maybe even submit or surrender somewhere inside of your business, listen to your heart and get out of your head.
And I think that's a great place to end it today.
I feel like that was a good place to end it.
So guys,
well
thanks.
Good.
Yeah, high five to us. Nailed it. But guys, thanks for listening to the Big Money Stylist podcast. You can actually go to bigmoneystylistnow.com and see me looking basically bald.
No, you got to go to dkwstyling.com now. That's where the
Oh
podcast
shit, it all
is.
changed.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
So I'll tell. My blog used to be like hair, fashion, me, like whatever, and now it's just hair. So I post the podcast there, and then I post one hair related post, and usually like I used to not like to write, but now I like force myself to write because it's another tool of communication. And now I'm like, oh, that was such a good post. So I do try to like write something from the heart, and I do one hair post a week, and then that's where the blog is now.
Nope, DKWstyling.com.
No,
I'm
no
like big
money.
DK,
Big
DK,
DKW.
big Danielle, big Danny.
D.
No, big D.
No, DKWstyling.com.
Go to Big D. Don't go to BigD.com. Don't do that. It was a joke. It was a joke about Danielle.
Please only go to DKWstyling.com to catch the podcast weekly. You can also download it on iTunes, Stitcher, I don't know, some other things. But tune in every week, every Tuesday. There will always be a show. Sometimes it's a repeat. But typically we try to play new content for you guys every week.
And thanks for being here.
Don't go to BigD.com.